We are on a fourth system, the love system, and it's represented by the color green, which is totally abundant in nature. And I'm thinking about green leaves and green leafy vegetables, of course, and this kind of like sense of abundance, I think, when I think about green. So the love system is connected to the air elements. So we had, the earth, the water element, the fire, and now we have the air. And you see also when I talk about how the love system is connected in a physiological way, how the air element really kind of resonates in here. Of course, it is love. It's sort of self-explanatory in a sense. We're talking about expressing love, giving and receiving, and self-love and self-compassion, and compassion in general. And it also comes with forgiveness, which is a huge part, I think, of the love system. Gratitude, of course, is an important one to carry here, because from that place of gratitude we can kind of grow our sense of connectedness and love in a bigger way. Yeah, and then when we talk about the physical parts of the system, of the love system, of course the heart is a huge part. That sort of makes sense. But the heart and the lungs are also deeply connected, and in Chinese medicine, grief is connected to the lungs, and this is kind of where some of that is stored. And we take in the air from the outside that is oxygenated our blood, which goes to the heart to pump it around the body, and then comes back and back to the lungs and again. So this is like this kind of giving and receiving relationship between the two, which is extremely vital for our survival as a human being. Then parts of our physical body, then we're looking at arms and hands, which is kind of sense, this is how we can express love and gratitude with others, holding hands, touch, giving people a hug. Blood vessels and circulation is also connecting this, and that works symbolically too, I think, with the giving and receiving, circulating, moving things around, oxygenating, and so on. So when it comes to food, and remember I just said this system is represented by the color green. So here, of course, we have all leafy green vegetables, and these green leafy vegetables actually support our oxygenation and our blood vessels and circulation in a sense. So it ties in many layers. Vegetables in general, because they're really important for our entire body, and I like to look at vegetables as kind of like a beautiful foods, and I don't like to look at them just as a food we should be eating, but I just think they're really beautiful. So for me, that is a kind of a sense of gratitude to enjoy them and have them as a gift from nature. Things like sprouts, sprouted foods, which is really like live little guys, enzymes, phytonutrients, which are the other compounds that are in the colors of fruit and vegetables, which have a multitude of effects on our bodies that are sort of like another layer on top of like what the macronutrients and the vitamins and minerals does. And there's hundreds of these compounds, and we know some of them, what they do, and probably many more to be discovered how they work. But we know that in general, eating a big variety of colourful vegetables and fruit is going to be really beneficial for our health. And when it comes to eating then, sharing food with others, making food for others or for ourselves as an act of kind of self-care, I think it's really important. So let's talk about how we can incorporate mindful eating and what kind of part of this concept that I'm woven into the love aspect. So here I really think about compassion, self-care, and self-love, and that we're making choices from this place, and a place of kindness really and care. And when we're working with mindful eating as our kind of fundamentals and base to create a peaceful relationship with food, this is very much the place that we want to arrive at eventually, that this kind of place of that I'm making these choices because I'm worthy, I'm worth it. And we can also use this sense of self-kindness when we get stuck in this black and white thinking that I spoke about in the fire aspect video. So then when we're kind of stuck and beating ourselves up about something we felt we shouldn't have eaten or shouldn't have done, we can bring this sense of self-compassion to that, and knowing that this is, we're probably not the only one who's ever experienced this. We're not faulty, we're not damaged, and we can move on from that, because we hold this belief, I think, it's like a probably maybe human bias or a human conditioning, that in order to change, we need to be really hard on ourselves. But I think the opposite is actually the truth. That when we can bring kindness to our experiencing and to our faults and flaws, it's easier to actually learn from them and move on, rather than when we created this black and white thinking and we're either good or bad, and depending on what choices we're making, they're defining our worth. But when we bring kindness to it, we can see that, maybe it wasn't the smartest thing to do. It doesn't mean that I'm useless or I'm worthless or I'm bad. It just means that I had a great opportunity to learn something new. So the way I see it, bringing kindness and compassion for ourselves, and of course also for others, is really the fast track to change. So this is the place where on our intuitive or mindful eating journey that we really want to arrive at, where we have this openness and curiosity to make these food choices and maybe cultivating changing behaviors that are serving our physical, emotional, spiritual need from that place of care and worthiness. So for this video, for the next few days, I would like you to ponder this question that I've taken from the Nourish Your Whole Self workbook. And it's really to look at, how does food represent love in your life? And I would like you to explore it right across the whole ways. That is it representing love in a way that is not necessarily healthy, or is there more of a shadow side to it, for example? Or how does it look? How do you use food as love in your life? Or how does it represent it? And there's really no right or wrong or good or bad. So just explore this question with an open mind and see what comes out for you. And just kind of look at that, and how does that resonate? And how does this opening to this question resonate with looking at what you've already looked at from the previous questions, looking at the other different systems. So I'm really curious to see how and what, I suppose, you get out of this.